2, 1. How's it going, everybody? Sorry for the delay. Welcome to another week of Wedding Film School Live. And we've got a treat for you today, with a little bit of a change in the works. We've got myself, and I'm joined by Jay, as well as by Jared. How's it going, guys?
This is our like little mini floating heads up here on the live stream.
Hello.
So there's that. That's good.
Yes.
But yeah, things are pretty good today. How you doing, Bobby?
It's been a while since we've had the whole crew.
Bobby has maybe not the best view, but Bobby, you should be able to see the video now in the Zoom. So
I just checked, and we actually sound good on the actual stream itself. So
good.
We did it.
Look at us go, guys. It's like we make videos for a living.
You know what though? Like live streaming is so much harder.
Different ball game.
so much harder than making good films. Yeah.
You know what I was thinking, Jay? I was, I don't know what I was working on something yesterday. I think I was just walking around my house, and I was like, oh, shoot, tomorrow's a live stream. And I was like, I feel like we just did the live stream like a day ago, 2 days ago, maybe.
Yeah.
Like, man, this week went by fast.
Yes.
But all that to say, we, of course, have some awesome wedding films for you guys to join in with us as we review. These are submitted by you guys, and a quick rundown of how we do it. We're going to watch the whole film, or up to 5 minutes. We try to cap it around there. And then we're going to take turns, and we're going to talk about things that we liked, the things that we think, the filmmaker just did really well in, the things where we see some promise and where they're excelling in. And then we're going to flip over to the other side, and we're going to say, hey, these are some things that we think you could improve on. These are the most important, the most impactful changes that you can make for your next wedding. And we love hearing from you guys in the chat as well. So if you're in chat, we want to hear your thoughts too. What are things that you loved about their film? What are things that you think could be improved on and would have a big impact? And we'll see how it goes today. We're dealing with a few technical difficulties on the front end, so you might hear most of the reviews from Jay and Jared. And if my feed ends up coming through the film for me so that I can view it too, then I might chime in here as well. But
the video card seems to have just died.
So. But I'll be chiming in from time to time on chat. So I'll be keeping an eye on chat. And you guys who want your films reviewed, there is a link pinned at the top. And you can click that link. You can submit your film. And we'll be in consideration for sure for next week. And maybe if we have enough time, maybe this week, we'll see. Those reviews are free, guys. We do all of our content right now entirely for free for you. But if you want to support this channel and you want to show some support and help us out, you can consider becoming a member. It starts at just $5 a month. And you get priority in getting your films reviewed on our weekly live stream. So thank you for being here. Jay, Jared, do you guys got anything else before we kick it off?
I was gonna say, we're gonna go all the way through the films, we're gonna do a round of what we like, and so just since there's 3 of us boys, let's keep our comments to a minimum, and then a round of maybe some things we think that the filmmaker can improve on, and in general, we're not necessarily looking at like. Sometimes people rip on the comments, Bobby, and they're like, are you kidding me? You judge that film that way? Like, we're 100% grading on a curve, guys. Like,
you said that one was fine, and that other beautiful one you tore to shreds.
Yeah, we're not ranking them. Like, we're not saying that's a 60, that's an 80, it's not a contest. We're trying to give this person critique on what they could do,
where they're at in their career,
on how they can get
and
better.
Oftentimes, guys, too, if it is a much better film, what you'll see if you watch this, weekly, or you just join occasionally, even, you'll see when we get really good films, the critiques are really deep because they are much deeper, more like theoretical, philosophical things about the film. It's not like all your shots were overexposed. On to the next thing,
No, the better the film, the harsher the critique.
Yeah, and the harder it is to articulate what that critique might be sometimes.
And also, people are regularly submitting, too. So we have some people that submit every single week. So naturally, we're doing their films a lot more. We get to know them, and they ask us to rip them a little bit more than someone who's maybe, doing it for the first time, and this is the first time ever having their film critique. Like, we're going to be probably a little bit more gentle with that person, because it hurts, man. And mad respect to everyone who actually submits their films, because it's hard to present your art to somebody else. Like, I have all the respect in the world for you guys who regularly submit and want to get better, want to critique, because that's the whole point.
Totally.
So it's a big
Hey,
deal.
should we introduce like a massage scale? Like when you go into a massage and you're like, how hard do you want it? Like 1 to 10?
Oh yeah, I love that. Like how hard?
Like, how much do you want us to tear your part apart?
Or we could ask them like, how good do you think you are? And if they're like, awesome,
yeah.
I'm amazing.
And if they say they're great, then we're just gonna lean into them even harder.
I think so. The first film today is by a really good filmmaker named Lex Abshire. You know what, Lex? I don't think I've ever said your name out loud, and then I say it out loud, and I'm like, did I say that right? That doesn't feel right out of my mouth. But anyway, very good filmmaker. That's what he says. 2 EOS R6 cameras. EOS R. Is that the standard, by the way? We're supposed to say EOS, right? It's not.
I would say EOS.
EOS. EOS. Does anyone say EOS?
I just never even say it. I just say Canon R6.
Canon.
Yeah.
But felt good. This is what he said. Felt good about the multi-day content, and I was able to bring into the film. So it's a multi-day wedding. Amarillo Ranch was an investment of time on my part to get more content, like that 360 content. I quickly booked more clients that wanted second-day shoots with their weddings, and most of them all had horses. It was pretty fun. Currently talking to a potential client now that's totally up toward 8K package with much less than what I sold this wedding for. So this is Lex, good filmmaker, kind of showing something he made. And then also I love that he kind of talked about how this impacted his business. And so we'll critique it, but also at the end of the day, I call it a success no matter what I think about it, because it made money. So, but as a piece of art, it might be crap, guys. So get ready. Although I kind of doubt it, because Lex is a good filmmaker.
Well, Grant is in chat saying it's his favorite film of the year.
Really? Really?
Yes.
Okay. So that's high praise. Here we go. We're going to get a copyright strike for this.
The most remarkable moment in life is when you meet the person who makes you feel complete. The person that makes the world a beautiful and magical place. The person with whom you share a bond so special that it transcends normal relationships and it becomes something so pure
Not the horse.
and so wonderful you can't imagine spending another day of your life without them.
That's Jared's kind of wedding thing.
Aiden, you've taught me that love is easy. It is soft and it's effortless, but it is also fierce and consistent and so loyal. Aiden, you're the treasure of my life. And today, I promise to love you more and more with each day that passes.
Aiden can attest to this. I always said you're going to meet a girl who's going to be as smart as you and as clever and can go toe-to-toe with you in any argument. And then came JC. She was smart, beautiful, and soon to be a lawyer. Exactly what Aiden needed.
JC, very focused, level-headed, headstrong and the most driven person I've ever met in my entire life. I'm sure my parents thought, oh my God, who the hell is gonna put up with this girl? Well, then came along our tall, handsome, sweet cowboy that just swept my sister off her feet. Obviously, JC and Aiden are made for each other, as everyone here knows. Both extremely driven, but very tough-headed, and of course, they have a very strong love for the Lord, which that's what we love the most.
Since the day we met, you've always been in my corner. We helped each other survive more than a couple rowdy nights out on the town. We've already had so many great adventures, with many more to come. But I don't just love getting to do the exciting parts of life with you. I love getting to do the everyday with you. I love spinning you around a crowded dance floor just as much as I love two-stepping across the kitchen with you. You'll always be my favorite dance partner. I'm incredibly blessed to have such a strong, beautiful, intelligent, caring person to be my partner.
These are the hands that will work alongside yours as you build your future together. And these are the hands that will passionately love you and cherish you through the years.
Yeah, it sounds like a movie
and with the
narrator or
slightest
something.
touch will comfort you like no other.
It's definitely a cooler way to read it with that cool voice than most of the other times I've heard it.
These are the hands that will hold you when fear fills your mind with grief or sorrow. These are the hands that countless times will wipe the tears from your eyes, tears of sorrow and tears of joy. These are the hands that even when wrinkled in age will still be reaching for yours, still giving you that same unspoken tenderness with just a touch. Are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Are you ready?
Absolutely.
And now, by the power vested in me by the great Lone Star State of Texas, it is my honor and delight to declare you married. You may seal.
Oh no, the
this
tripod's
declaration
falling over.
with a
It's a really creative use of just like a problem, you know?
Waste of a camera.
Why is that nerd playing electric drums? All right, boys. Good film. So, like I said before, let's do a quick round of like just a couple things we liked about the film. I think there's probably a lot, and we'll probably cover a lot of the same ground. So why don't we just do like one or two things each, and then we'll get to the improvement. But there's a lot to like about this film. Bobby, what did you like the most?
Yeah, I think it's shot really, really well. There's, I mean, obviously like good coverage, whatever, like this person knows what they're doing. But this is one of those few times for like, you know, like I have been shooting handheld more lately, mostly lately, I would say. But I'm a real big stickler on handheld footage, and especially when you get this kind of handheld that is shaky, right? That has a lot of movement. There's a way to do it right, and there's a way to do it wrong. And in this, it was done right.
Yeah, why don't we talk about
works.
that as a team real quick? Like, why do we like this handheld shooting, which is more shaky than most,
Yeah.
versus other handheld shooting? Like, I have my reasons, but why do you feel that way, guys?
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know
it's
if
less of a steering
Jared,
wheel
why don't you
thing.
take it?
Yeah. Like, I think the biggest problem I see with people who are just starting any handheld shooting is the steering wheel motion is pretty unbearable. It's like it's less of a up and down,
sickening,
kind of like a movement that you would naturally face as you're living life. Like you're just looking out your eyeballs, out your eye holes. You know, this is kind of the motion. It's less of like this. And so when your camera is doing much more of this, it just feels a lot less natural, and it's hard. You have to rig it up in a way. I'm sure he has this
or you just have to be technically good. You have to know what you're trying to imitate.
Yep.
I think a lot of people don't know what they're trying to, like, they don't know that it's a look.
Yeah.
And they're just like, well, I'm shooting with my hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of it.
That's what I would say. I would say this is the difference maker for me is this feels intentional. It feels intentional in how it was shot, but it also feels intentional in how it was edited, knowing that this is, handheld. Like a lot of the really quote unquote rough or like lots of movement, right? Handheld stuff, that's in that intro, whatever it is, 30 seconds, 40
and
seconds.
on certain focal lengths.
It's really fast. Yep, exactly. You're on the right focal length. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say I was watching this
really
kind of mediocre movie the other day, but whatever. It was a fun action movie called Plane. I don't know, you might see it. It's like one of those, like, it's in theaters, but probably you'll watch it at home kind of movies. And we're like, let's just watch it. And there was an action scene a la like Jason Bourne, not quite that shaky. And I was like, oh, that was really well shot. Like that fight scene, it was like a guy like struggling with a guy who snuck up on him, and it was his first kill of the movie, and he was all nervous, and you felt that tension and that energy, and it was intentionally a little disorienting. And my wife's like, could you shoot that? And I was like, I couldn't shoot that. I was like, I don't have the experience as like an action, camera operator. And so I think if you're shooting, like, you kind of got to be personally trying to bring something to the table. Like, and I felt like when he was raw on purpose.
Yep.
So it was good.
Exactly.
So I agree. Yes, I agree.
I also really like, this is something that I'm big on and I always try to do. And again, in the shooting, I really like very symmetrical shots. And there's a handful of that in here too, where things are just very even.
Yes.
Yep. I agree. I liked his a lot of his concepts. You could tell it was thought out, not only day of, like, you're kind of reacting, but there's also some things that he was like, I'm going to do this. This is what I have in my head. I want to execute on this certain shot. Like, obviously, the Amarillo shoot that he did felt very intentional. You could tell he had, like, the time to get in there and get the shots that he wanted. But even, like, something as simple as, like, there's a shot at the very beginning where he's, like, does this static shot on, I think it's like a bunch of hangers or a wall. It's empty. And then the next shot is all the dresses are on it. It's like a boom, boom. He knew what he was going to do in the cut, which is definitely a benefit of shooting. Whatever you edit is you're essentially editing on site. You can get the shots that you're looking for. So I liked his intentionality. I liked his concepts right out of the gate. And I love that he created essentially these two different worlds, which are just like two.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, Jared. It's like world building.
Yep.
Very strong world building. Like, I look at it, this is not an amazing shot, but I felt like he was doing a great job getting me connected with the way that the person was feeling.
Yeah.
Like, and their temperament. And I think, like, sometimes people choose to show shots or shoot them in such a way that don't really tell much of a story.
Yeah.
I can't imagine, like, he's probably thinking about his wedding or his wife or about the horse, or like, this is a contemplative man.
Yeah.
And then this girl, she's on fire. She's like this crazy person. And like, that was coming through so strong. That's the shot you're talking about, Jared.
Yep.
Also, like, I just felt like when he was using his gimbal and when he was doing more of the wedding-y kind of stuff, it was very clean. Like wedding style. And I don't like it when shooters like don't realize that, like, this is not the thing you shoot that way. You shoot this dance floor of them doing their first dance. Yeah, you can have some handheld moments and stuff, but like, give me that polish too.
Yeah.
And I think he brought some polish and composition and a little rawness and coolness to the film. So very good film.
What did you think about his use of the radio at the very beginning? How do you think that was used as a story?
Well, did you like it or not like it?
I liked it. I thought it was good. It reminded me of being in an old, Ford pickup truck driving to the shooting range or to the, horse farm or whatever. I understood what he was trying to get at.
I kind of had a hard time like picking up on some of the concepts, to be honest. Like I was like just more looking at the footage.
Yeah.
It didn't really register with me one way or the other, which means probably I think it had little impact.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's talk about some things we think that Lex can do to improve a film that's very good. But I think, sure, we can have some critiques.
Yeah,
So what do you think?
I mean, I think what we're trying to do is really get into the nitty gritty, because this film is great. Like I think even a film like this, you could easily charge $10,000 for where we are.
Oh yeah, this is a top tier film.
I think that's an interesting conversation that we could have, knowing what he did charge.
Yeah.
Which was shared with us, and how much it's like, man, if you, and I don't know his branding or how connected he is with people, but if you get to the point where your branding is on point and you have those connections, whoo. I know he's talking about he's hitting an 8K package, and that's a huge accomplishment. Don't get me wrong. Most people will never get there.
Yep.
But you could be charging a hell of a lot more than that for this.
I mean, it's clearly top tier cinematography skills. So I think, that's that kind of, it shines obviously. But anyway, you're saying, Jared?
Yeah. So what we'll dive into is essentially trying to help Lex give him our feedback so he can just get into that tier of $15,000 to $20,000 film.
Well, and even not just the money, but is it? It's good. This is the question I'd like to think about, guys. It's good. Is it special?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And what would make it special? Okay, take it beyond he could clearly, Lex can flex on other filmmakers because he's just a great shooter and he's a very good editor. But can he flex on the best?
Yeah. How are you comparing this to the greats out there, Alex Douglas? Because I would imagine, the little interactions that I've had with Lex, I can imagine him wanting to do that. And I think he has the skill to be able to do it, by the way, Lex. So good job. So I think thinking about this critique, that's what we're thinking about it. It's not dunking on him at all. It's just we're literally trying to get him to a point where he can charge more and just give peer-to-peer feedback, I think. So
yeah,
Bobby, what did you? I'll let you go first. I'll put the
So the only things that I would say is, okay, so answering the question of, this is obviously good or great or whatever, but is it special? And I think that first 40 seconds or whatever this intro section, or actually I don't think we're seeing it right now, but whatever that intro section is, I think is special. I think that's interesting. It's unique. It is his fingerprint on a film. And then I think that I guess what it boils down to in my critique is that the middle section lost me. It got really slow for me, and I don't know. I felt disconnected from it. I felt like I wanted to sit back in my chair and look over at the comments. I wasn't engaged in the film anymore. And I don't know if that's a choice of it being too long, or it got a lot. It got very wordy. There was a lot of dialogue that maybe I just felt wasn't pushing it forward. And then my only other similar critique is and then I kind of got drawn back in again. And then the dance floor footage for me went on too long. It lost me in the dance floor too. So that's really my only critique, is just it's like there was this huge up that we start with, and it's this awesome, just so well shot, so put together. And then it's gradually down, but it kind of just it goes lower than I would want it to. I needed to either get ramped back up and get engaged again, or I needed it to not slow so down for me.
Yeah, I think for me, love a lot of these shots. I thought that one shot of the horse as it stops and then the dirt kind of moves on. So intentional and good. I almost wish I saw a little bit more texture to give the film some a little bit more personality of you're not only looking at a film and experiencing film, like I want to feel it. Like I want to feel what it felt like to be there. And like the moments, I think he did that in his Amarillo shoot. Like he's getting close-ups of like, you know, her dress, and there's a couple moments in there where it's like you feel what the leather is going to feel like of that, of the harness and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I wish I saw a little bit more of that transition over to the wedding day too. I felt like the wedding day was kind of set on a very similar.
I think that's what I was going to say
the whole time.
Similar to you, just to because then I don't have to say it on my own, which is the biggest weakness of the film to me was that, like, I'm looking right here at this right here, Jared, and like similar to what you were saying, like the level of care taken on that one shoot versus the wedding day.
Yeah.
And like the wedding, the common moments were not elevated.
Yeah.
They were
like
just kind of covered.
That shot right there, which I know is just the cutaway shot, and when they're giving speeches, that looks like the rehearsal dinner.
Yeah, it's the rehearsal dinner.
Yeah.
I wish there was a little bit tighter of a shot on that person and got rid of a lot of the clutter.
Yeah, there's like that lady just munching away, and
didn't match.
Yeah, and that's just like, I wish it was tighter, and you felt like. I think it's just like a shot like that of the groom. Like I wish there was that shot that was closer that just cut away all the extra stuff. Like you don't see that in Elevated, like Alex's film. Like if he did a film, like you wouldn't see that in his film. You want to see close-ups if people are speaking, and then also they're probably going to be lit. They're very intentional. So it might even be just like, do you need an extra person on site to just help you with that stuff? Like that's not just something that is like, oh, it just happens to happen. Like Alex.
Yeah. Well, there was that little sequence later in there where it was like when it was picking up and he showed like the ring rolling down and a bunch of and it was like some of the concepts from the day before or the weeks before, whenever he shot it, kind of brought into the wedding day. But then of course, I think the portrait session was really nice as well. But I'm just trying to think, and I guess I don't have any answers. I would just say like one thing to think about is how can I elevate the common moments so that they feel the same way as my other parts. And I do have one thing, Jared. I wasn't crazy about that song that filled most of the piece. It just was like so high drama. And I think this is like a critique I always have, guys. And so my question is like when a song is high drama, but the couple is in like a VFW hall.
Right.
It just, it doesn't match to me. Like, I feel like there's a personal, like the personality of the song isn't matching the personality of the day. And that's kind of what's revealing to me, the commonality of it. I'm like looking at these stripped down moments and I'm not like leaning into it. And it doesn't feel authentic. It's almost like exposing, like, this is this good filmmaker who's got this sensibility and this couple didn't really match it, but he's going to jam the square peg in the round hole. And it just was like, how can you lean into that? Like, how do you like think about that? That's just a thing I noticed. I could see why he would pick it. It's not a bad song. It just felt to me like a little.
Well, the song is appropriate to them too, probably. Like
this right here.
Probably. Declaration.
Not that one. This one is great. This is the one.
But very tough-headed, and of course, they have a very strong love for the Lord, which that's what we love the most.
Rock and roll.
No, that was good.
Okay.
And the last one too. It's like this one. I'm feeling
We helped
like
each other survive.
where he was saying, "Oh, it kind of lost me."
Yeah.
I think I was just like feeling dissonance between what I was hearing and what I was seeing on the screen, and it was like making my brain fight with my ears.
Sure.
Yeah. I have one more question getting back to, so one of the things I think on my end, Jay, when I'm seeing this with you guys, like I'm always a little hesitant on like audio. Like you mentioned that intro radio tuning or whatever it was, like I could hear something, but I didn't quite know what it was. So one of the things that I'm interested in, and you guys can tell me if this did happen.
Let me play it really quick.
Oh, I'm not really talking about the radio.
I don't even remember that it happened.
Yeah.
So
but I'm talking about, so Jared talking about adding texture and how this intro section had a lot and then we kind of lost it. Like, what was there any sound design in this intro 40 seconds? Like, as far as like dirt, horses, like boots on the ground, that kind of.
No,
I think that would.
Yeah, I think
that could be a really big elevation for it too. Okay, I didn't remember any of it, but I didn't know if it was maybe too subtle for me to
honestly
hear.
I think throughout the film, probably it could use a little more of like. I think that the middle of the film should have been more grounded, and it would have complemented a lot of his instincts, which are raw and handheld, and not try to lift it outside of like, these are, you know, clearly wealthy people. It's a nice wedding. It's great. But also they're like,
yeah, that venue's sweet.
They're normal.
Yeah.
They're not like they're just normal folks. And I don't know. I kind of feel weird about, I like leaning into that. Maybe that's just me personally, but anyway.
Great Texas wedding, man. Texas
Yeah, it's amazing.
Special.
Yeah, good job.
I love it down there.
Yeah, great film. I think just to summarize, maybe just kind of adding a little sound design we think would help a little more. Doing a little more with that. I think maybe my opinion was the song was a little in the middle. I think Jared kind of felt that there was just a few moments where you're just kind of seeing a lot of like not like, you know, like people standing in a VFW hall, and it just didn't feel. And then, you know, Bobby kind of just, I think it was all impacting. Everything we're saying is kind of playing together to make that middle of the sequence not as close to as good as the beginning. I had
my concern comes in paired in with a lot of what Jared said too, where it was like visually, I think it lost me too. I'm like, oh, and now we're just, and like, it's like, don't get me wrong, you want to have your rehearsal dinner like in a VFW type thing, like no, it's not, totally,
that's normal. It's part of wedding.
There are ways to make it more visually appealing, I think.
Yeah,
it's. I'm trying to think of it because it very clearly defined two worlds that he has: the wedding day, which is like one color pattern and color tone, and then, you know, the day on the ranch kind of thing, which is a completely different thing. The lighting is different. It's just a completely different world. I almost think and wish that they were almost like there was like some sort of like common thread. I don't know if it'd be between like the color or what, to link them a little bit more, because it did feel kind of like, you know, the very beginning is like very raw. You know, you have your radio, you have your pickup truck, and it's like you have the music to go along with it. And then it goes to the wedding day, and then they both kind of seem like they're out of place a little bit. So maybe even like less overlapping of like wedding day over those moments. And then I don't know. I would probably play around in that world a little bit to try to make those worlds seem very different, but at the same time, like, what are the common threads that are connecting the two? And I don't know.
I mean, there's always a double-edged sword when you get like an extra beautiful session.
Right. It's hard to do.
And then when you get it, and then you realize that like the day of could be crap.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like saying like, it's like giving someone like caviar and then giving them a grilled cheese sandwich. Mm-hmm. It's like, I like grilled cheese sandwiches. I'd much rather have it with, maybe that would be good actually. But anyway, but you know, it's like it exposes like the normalness of the other thing. And I think that's the trick with wedding filmmaking is like, I don't know, maybe it's just me. I think authenticity is a buzzword people use. I think everyone's trying to elevate the visual experience. Like even if it's authentic or raw, it's like, oh, that wasn't authentic. You literally did a camera whip. Like you are creating momentum and movement with your camera and your editing.
Yeah.
So great film.
Yeah,
I mean,
really great,
really inspiring. And I think honestly, he could do the exact same thing if the wedding was more elevated, and it would probably actually all land.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I will say. If there was like a big time mega wedding and he did all the same stuff, we would be not critiquing it at all, probably.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I would say he just has to keep on doing exactly what he's doing and he'll figure it out himself.
Yeah. I mean, Lex is a great filmmaker. So
yes.
Great job.
Yeah.
Appreciate you, Lex. All right. So let's look about this next film, Bobby.
Yeah, we're looking at Pedro Mota's wedding. Pedro Mota.
I believe
films.
Pedro, this seems Portuguese, but if you're out there and you're like, that's not Portuguese, that's Spanish, or that's Italian, let us know. So it's not in English.
And Pedro says the last wedding of 2022, it was in December, about 50 people, and it rained all day. Everything had to be inside, super tight, but worked with what the day gave me. I think it even turned out well. First time using this new Sony A7 IV, 10-bit color, and S-Log 3. That's all I got.
There it is. So let's check this one out. Like I said, guys, this is not in English, but we love to review films from all over the world. Obviously, our critiques are somewhat limited.
We all know what they say. But
we definitely will do our very best, and we really appreciate when people trust us, who know that we don't speak their language. so we appreciate that. It's awesome. So let's go.
I'm interested to see this one because if you've shot in the rain, you know how much of a pain it is. So
yeah,
it's wicked hard.
Yep. Here we go.
10 anos depois, em que parabéns aos restaurantes, uma grande família.
By the way, this is a little longer, guys, so I might skip over some of the parts, and the fact that we
skip around there.
The fact that I can't speak the language will make it a little easier for me, but we're not trying to be disrespectful to the filmmaker. So here we go.
E sejamos honestos, o que gosta disso?
E agora os nossos queridos passam a ser um sol.
Sobre as emoções, sobre a
E a
vida.
calma nos dias agitados.
E juntos aprendemos a lidar com as nossas emoções.
Espontaneidade em tudo, ou quase tudo.
Todos os dias tentarmos ser melhores.
I'm hearing it's Portugal, Jared.
Some really good Portuguese filmmakers out there.
That's
Really,
right.
really good.
I want to go to Portugal so bad. I've heard it's
Tá.
incredible.
É muito mais, mano. Oi. Estou. Começar a ficar um bocadinho nervoso. É.
Go. Do not like that. That he teased the first look and then don't show me the. Don't do that to me.
Jay wants the payoff.
Yes. I'm not gonna say an inappropriate thing.
I'm not a big fan of that little.
I don't like that font.
Well, the key thing too. Like, you
Forward,
can, like,
yeah. It's a cool space, though.
Yeah, really cool.
Somos loucos. Foi o que a maioria aqui pensou de certeza. Afinal, quem é que no seu perfeito juízo decide preparar um casamento em 5 meses? Pensámos em várias datas que tivessem significado para nós, e fosse num sábado, pois toda a gente sabe que o casamento é ao sábado, mas hoje é o nosso dia mais especial e por isso aqui estamos. Mas nada nos descreve melhor do que isto mesmo. E numa segunda-feira, o tão aclamado, o pior dia da semana para grande parte das pessoas, e nós decidimos fazer dele um dia de festa.
Are you guys hearing like music? Like he has like a noise gate or something when he's talking, and like at the end the gate tries to close, but you can hear like a violin in the
Yeah,
background.
it sounds a little odd to me.
Yeah. I think that's like a noise gate, and he was like trying to isolate just the vocals, and there's music playing in the background.
It's possible.
Faz hoje exatamente 11 anos do nosso primeiro sim. Foi sim imaturo, sim inocente,
Yeah, there it is.
mas era cheio de entusiasmo e de sentimento tão intenso que até então eu nunca tinha
I
experienciado.
can't not hear that.
Puxa sempre o outro, mas quando chora, nós choramos juntos. Quando
yeah.
vence, nós celebramos juntos. Quando precisa de gritar, nós também gritamos juntos. Eu sei que a minha intensidade abana a tranquilidade do teu mundo, mas é que às vezes eu sinto que tu precisas de um pouco de adrenalina.
É verdade que os opostos se atraem, mas são as nossas diferenças que nos fazem tão completos e tornam esta relação tão equilibrada. O nosso amor é muito mais do que se vê aqui. É puro, forte, sincero e não é de hoje. E mal sabíamos nós que mesmo separados estávamos juntos. Sou muito feliz contigo e quero que saibas que tenho um enorme orgulho em ti. Sei que vamos construir uma família linda.
I wonder how much like
És a minha vida toda. A minha alma gêmea.
like the pacing of films is affected by culture.
É a frase que nos motiva.
You know, like I feel like
Or how much is it affected by the fact that we don't know what they're saying, and so it
feels like it's just no.
feels very slow.
This is a slow paced. I mean, I'm like I can
Yeah,
see.
I mean it is inherently. For
It's
sure,
not
but-
moving, you know, from a narrative standpoint, like visually or emotionally. Like you feel the movement of a film. You don't. It's not. It's nothing that you even have to see. But either way, I wonder though, because it's like you see some places and like the films have all a similar vibe. And I wonder why that is. I wonder like who's the influential person.
Well,
Who's-
it's probably like what becomes standard, and you know.
what people want to pay for.
Yeah.
So we're moving past the ceremony. It was interesting that they're all standing the whole time too.
It might have been a. Well, he said this was the ceremony area, so.
Well, there was a. They probably initially were having the ceremony outside, but because of the rain, maybe.
Oh, okay, interesting.
That's what I would assume. Tinder.
Whoa. What is this tradition? Musical chairs?
Man, it's been a long time since I've been a part of a wedding like this one, Jared. It's like a family party.
Yeah.
You know, it's like it's a totally like different storytelling like requirements than like I did a big industry event.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You can always tell with the mason jars, you know.
100%. Or like there's like people are just like randomly doing whatever they want to be doing at any given point.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. So, weird.
Psych!
Existe homem super lutador, super corajoso, hiper mega romântico.
I don't understand. If for the Brazilians or the Portuguese speaking people in the room, what is happening right
Tu tens
now?
coração gigante. Tu és a pessoa mais humilde que alguma vez eu conheci nesta vida.
És a melhor parte de mim e passo a passo vamos conquistando o mundo. Amo-te muito.
Admiro-te tanto. Eu sempre confiei na sorte, mas desta vez foi mesmo o destino.
Why is he holding that?
Sarita, o amor da minha vida, a minha princesa, a minha bebé de choro fácil, o meu amorzinho. E ainda temos tantas aventuras pela frente. Fazes tudo para me ver feliz e eu só espero conseguir fazer o mesmo por ti.
Olhando para trás.
Oh, it crashed. Weird.
Well,
we can hop in.
Yeah,
we can hop in while all that.
Yeah, we watched enough of it. So, let's talk about that film and what we liked.
Well, I think it's so hard to say what you liked and what you didn't like when you know it was raining outside.
Well, I mean,
there's only so much.
Maybe we should really quickly say, what do we think about this sequence, guys? With the
I can talk about what I liked. I liked this sequence. I think, you know, I guess what I liked is you lean into this really high contrast look, this black and white look, and I think that's interesting. It's not something I see a lot. It's actually something that, man, I don't know about you guys. I would love to do a whole wedding in this, like, I mean, this might be a little extreme, but
I would
like
say this is a little too high contrast to me, but I know what you're saying.
But like film noir, like, I don't know. I think that would be really, really cool. So I think that's unique. I think you got creative, and I think I always want to applaud that. Like, there are points of that black and white sequence that I think were a little too much or didn't work, but there are also points I think like,
conceptually it was cool way to deal with the problem. So I like that.
Yeah, exactly. Like it shows that you took like, you thought on your feet, whatever.
I didn't like
I like that.
the way that it went into a second fake intro.
And a really harsh transition, which is
it was like
one critique,
intro,
I think, of this,
and then break, and then this break here, and anyway. What else did we like about the film?
I love that moment. I guess I just wish there was more kind of breaks like that of like very intentional. Like, this was my concept. You know, I wish I could see a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, even look at this shot right here.
You spent it all early on the film, and
like,
we never saw it again.
Look at the shot right here. Like, the amount of water that's right there, you could shoot that so much better. Like, if you want to show a puddle, then get me a great shot of water hitting the ground. Don't just give me a kind of a shoot. Well, I'll put my camera out the window and do kind of a pan and whatever. It's like, it's just, this is nothing.
As far as positives, I think this person, clearly knows how to shoot. Like, I don't see a lot of problems like we see a lot. Like, your white balance is off on every single shot. Like, it's different or whatever. Like, it's like the fundamentals are covered. And I think they did, all things considering, a good job covering the event. Just from a videographer's standpoint, like they were in there and they made lemonade out of the lemons they were given. They got the shots, stuff like this. It's like you're in an indoor space. There's only so much you can really film in a space like this, where it's like it doesn't just become a mason jars video. But yeah, I think they got the shots. Clearly, a shot like this where it's like, hey, make sure everyone's cleared out of the room. You're getting that shot before everyone heads in, just like you're covering your fundamentals, which for a lot of filmmakers isn't something that, they will do. So I think this person did a really good job, getting their fundamentals done early on in the day for sure.
I think I could see that this person cared about this couple and wanted their story to be told and respected their vows, respected the day, like really worked hard to make it, like I was kind of saying, like, oh, it's kind of like, it's been a while since I've done one of these, but it's like, that was what they had.
Yeah.
And I think like that is, like, you're a failure as a wedding filmmaker if you don't communicate like the couple something that would represent their day in a way that they would enjoy seeing their day.
Yeah.
And I think that was very true. Like, they're going to watch this and be like, oh my gosh, remember what a great time we had? And there's some really nice shots in there as well. I think we'll talk about some areas where I think we can level up a little in the shooting, but I think it was really solid.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. So let's talk about some ways we think that this filmmaker can improve. I already mentioned to me, like, the big one to me, which was like kind of a disjointed, poor pacing, like weird, like fake outs and fade ins, and like at least 3 times that I could count just off the top of my head, they would like be like, and this is over. And a new thing. And I'm like, why is this? And I know it's like a little bit of a struggle because it's not my language, but I'm also like, I have a pretty strong sense of the ending sequence was, here are our vows now. This is the romantic time, right? And I feel like from a storytelling standpoint, like, I feel like that should have been the climax of the film, not like a weird, like we start having a bunch of fun. And like, I just, to me, it just didn't build in a very satisfying way. And then when it was like breaking, it was just breaking all the time. And it felt disjointed and a little slow paced.
Yeah, I agree. Even just starting with the first look, it was like, okay, we're going to see them eventually have this moment, and then it cuts away to another. It's like, just wedding film, like blue balls, if I can say that.
You did.
Whoa, canceled. We're off.
I
See
know.
ya.
But
Kill switch.
There was a little bit of that. I think it's just, you start with a pace, and it's like you want to just keep the momentum going, and then it blacks out, and then, here we are. But we're back at the ceremony. And it was like started slow, ramped up, ended slow, which just felt like it was, just the pacing. Really with this, it's like you want to create a concept from the very beginning of like, here's how I'm going to build to the climax and then how I'm going to end it. It's like you almost have to think about these. It almost seemed like you were throwing in moments that were just like, here's a moment I have. I'm just going to put it here. Okay, now the next moment, I'm just going to put it here. I think when you're doing a wedding film, and Jay can probably speak to this more because he's more on the editing side on our team, but just coming up with a concept early on before you even start of like, here are my pieces, here's where I'm going to use them.
I always tell people, like, imagine an actual physical arc, like draw it.
Yeah.
And like, if your film is going like this and like the whole 40% of it after the highlight is, do you remember the first time you watched Return of the King?
Yeah, I thought it was,
and like the last.
Oh man, I was just thinking because I just watched this.
The last 40 minutes of Return of the King, the epilogue.
Yeah,
you're like, come on, this movie's over.
Yeah.
Like in this movie, and I think it's the same thing with like wedding filmmaking. You don't want an epilogue in your wedding film.
Yeah,
you want a climax. You want like and I felt like from a storytelling standpoint, like be a little more rewarding with your music, with how you choose to tell the story, where you place it. Create natural peaks and valleys. Don't just like whoa, I hit my microphone. I hate that noise. Don't just constantly be giving people. There's one thing to surprise people. Surprising people, good. Giving people whiplash, not good.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll echo. Well, I would always preface it by saying, one of the things that I think we potentially run into here, things that I think are important to acknowledge. One, rain can really throw things for a loop. Two, obviously we don't speak the language, and so I do think even while understanding what's going on, not having that dialogue and knowing word for word, like we're slightly
100%
turned off to that, I think. And we also don't know, we always say this, we don't know culturally what a Portuguese wedding is
well,
like,
and also
right?
this could be the best wedding film on the market.
Exactly, yeah. But with that said, I agree, very, very slow. I think even if I knew what they were saying, I think I would lose interest. And then I think the other thing for me is
that shot's way too long.
And just bad. It's not a good shot. And don't include it. There's a lot of shots like that are just meh.
Yeah.
I think the other thing for me is some really harsh transitions. So we talk about the whiplash and going back and forth, but also even if those moments made sense the way they were ordered or put in order or whatever, the transition between them was really harsh for me every time. And I think what we're seeing, in my opinion, is a filmmaker who kind of has his basics down and is really experimenting with how to tell stories and what he wants his films to do. That's what I really feel like.
I totally understand resisting the high-paced, overly manufactured wedding film.
It doesn't have to be that.
Like wanting to do something that's telling a better story or slower paced story. Here's my biggest opinion. Okay, if that's your goal, where you're like, screw all this high polished stuff, I want to slow it down and be with families, or slow it down. This shot right here and that shot, okay, you want to do that? That shot has to be better. This shot has to look great. Yeah. This shot has to be better. If you want it to be slower paced, this shot, not in focus, or rambling around, not intentionally moving. Every shot you put in there has to be better.
Yeah.
And more focused. And so it was a mix of some of the reasons why people edit the way that they edit in wedding films is to cover up the mediocrity of a lot of the things you have to shoot.
Yeah.
You see it for a second. You add the polish by either putting a gimbal on it or only showing a little part that's great. Once you slow down in weddings, it shows.
It allows you to pick apart a shot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so
the lighting was just whatever. Oh, this is boring. Wow, we're on this shot a long time. Whatever.
Yeah. Then you just have to shoot it so good that, and I think I'm not sure. Me personally wouldn't want to make films that way because I know how hard that is. But maybe that's the goal, and maybe that's what he wants to do. And I say go for it. But definitely push yourself harder on the common moments. Elevate your shots then. If you hear our editing tips and you're like, I'm not going to listen to those guys. This is how I want to make my film. This is my vision. Okay, do that. But in that case, my opinion is elevate your stuff. Get some lights. Everything has to be
polished and beautiful.
If you're going to make me look at it for 30 straight seconds.
Yeah. I was going to say the handheld shooting here just needs some work. It does kind of have that and it is long, and it almost you're moving the shots on, the bouquet and the dress. They're panning left to right, but it's the speed is different. It starts off really slow and then speeds up and then slows
Well, it's down. In focus at the top 20% of the frame, but the middle of the frame's totally out of focus.
Yeah.
And it was just
in the pace of your shot, it might be an editing issue where you're just you T-shift it over a little bit and you make it so that it doesn't have that variable speed, but also just a better handheld shooting, getting better there, I think would be something that you could benefit from if you're going to get those kind of shots for sure.
Okay, well, good film.
Moving on,
and next film is by Benjamin Kelly.
Well, here, Jay, before you move on, I want to talk about that noise gate. Have you ever been to a wedding where people are just talking the entire time during the toast?
No.
I've been to a few. They're weird.
I mean, maybe have, but I probably blocked it out of my memory.
I've been to some weddings and probably like 2 or 3 where people are just talking during the entire toast, and like usually it's like one side of the family that's just like, whatever, like this is boring.
Okay, no, I do. Yes, I remember one because I remember
the other family's like
the other
offended.
family said,
Yes.
"Shut up."
Yeah, they're really offended.
Yeah,
they're like, who are these?
Or the person because the person was just standing up.
Yeah,
And they were like had back turned and they're just like standing at the table talking to someone.
Yeah,
and it was like, what is going on here?
I've been to another wedding where the DJ was like had to get on and be like, can you guys like not talk and like be quiet while someone's speaking, like, and they just totally ignored the DJ. It was kind of awesome and rock and roll, but also kind of annoying.
But your film.
Yeah, for the film.
All right. This is Benjamin Kelly, Benjamin Kelly Productions. And he says Canon R6 and Panasonic GH5. His biggest difficulty was communicating well enough to my process and the types of shots I was looking for. I will have something to say about that. I also feel like communicate well with the photographer, and the sunset to them it was too late for the video. So it was too late. And I would also say it seems like there's interviews in this, so that's another element. So here we go.
Let's do it.
He said, let's do it. I agree.
It was very early when I moved to.
By the way, if you're watching this video, like and subscribe, do the YouTube stuff. Help us out there, guys, if you're enjoying our live stream and our wedding filmmaking content.
Please.
Thank you. Here we go.
I remember a group of us, classmates, were coming to my place to study.
And I remember when he came up to the door, there was already an attraction.
And I distinctly remember how hard it was for me to concentrate because I was struck by her. At some point, we were talking, and she said to me, "Hey, it must have been really hard for you to come all the way from Seattle to Akron, Ohio."
I remember looking at him and thinking, man, this kid has come from another country, and there is so much more to him than what he even knows. But nobody's taken the time to pull it out of him.
This girl, she can put herself in my shoes and like really feel for me. At that point, I was like, man, she's special.
If you know Sarah, you know she has always been a strong-willed person. When she set out to start her CRNA school journey, I had no doubt that she would succeed.
You're the one I've waited all my life for.
During the beginning weeks of her classes, I remember her telling me there was this guy in one of her classes who she thought was pretty cute. My first question, of course, was what's his name? Her answer, well, I don't know. But he goes by Baja. He has dark hair, a very nice smile, and he's Russian. Little did she know Baja was thinking the same of her.
I don't think this wedding would be blue check approved.
Christmas party with the classmates, and one of the girls encouraged me. She's like, you should probably try to ask her out. But I felt so scared, and I was so happy when she said, yes, let's go out.
No, I'll never stop chasing your heart. My love is yours to hold. Through every high, every low, our love will only grow. My love is all for you.
That's awesome.
In the darkness,
Sweet dreams, we're finally here. Get to me, my love, today. I've been praying for you long before I met you.
I've known Baja for I don't know how many years. When he called me after meeting Sarah and says, "Hey man, this is getting serious," I have a feeling we might end up here actually today.
Dad, I didn't cry until now.
Me either.
I've been doing good all day.
There's many things I could say about the two of you, many wonderful things. Anyone who knows you at all, they know that the love that the two of you share and the care that the two of you share for one another is truly a magnificent thing.
I, Sarah, take thee Baha,
I, Baha, take Sierra to heaven to hold,
before God and these witnesses,
as long as I shall live.
so long as I shall live.
You are now standing in the presence of God and before family and friends, willfully vowing to commit your lives to one another in the sacred covenant of marriage.
Baha, you have a wife with a heart of gold and a genuine soul, and she loves you with every bone in her body.
Seeing Baha with Sarah, I couldn't be more happier for you, man. Just the way you guys look to each other, it's so sweet.
I'm never going to stop worrying about my little sister, but I'm 100% sure that when I do, I know she's in good hands.
By the authority vested in me by our Heavenly Father and recognized by the state of Ohio, I pronounce you husband and wife. And kiss the bride.
Баха и Сара, я вас очень люблю. Вы для меня очень дорогие люди. Вы просто офигенные, не знаю. Я вам желаю всего самого лучшего, чтобы вы построили офигенную семью, чтобы у вас все было хорошо.
That's how you hide something non-flattering. Shoot it that way. Like that dance floor. Like if it's
Light
cool.
it. Yeah. Light it
The
that
way
way.
it's lit,
Yeah.
the way the contrast is created. Like I think that's what I see throughout this film is like there's nothing where I'm like, why did he shoot it? Like there are a couple little things. But in general, I'm like, yeah, like honestly, not to toot our own horn, Jared, this feels like a wedding that we would shoot.
Well,
except for the interviews. But in general, it's like the way it was covered and the way the moments were presented and like idealized and presented in a way that was flattering mostly.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're almost done. Then
Yeah.
we'll talk about
Finish
the
it.
whole thing.
Every one of us at this table and everyone underneath this tent wishes you both nothing but the best. Will everyone please raise your glasses and toast to the new Mr. and Mrs. Muna.
Chasing your heart, my love is yours to hold through every
How much better does that look?
will only grow. My love is all for you.
Friends and family, it is my distinct privilege to introduce to you for the very first time Mr. and Mrs. Bakhtiyor.
I don't know what's going on with my thing. It's cutting off the last 10 seconds of all the videos.
So if that's the way he ended that film, I love the way he ended that film. Like usually that, introduction is used in the middle of the film as a transition point, but he used it at the very end. And it was awesome.
They walked out and it was cool. He did a good job.
Um,
Okay, so let's talk about the film. Jared, go.
Ben, if I was with you right now, I would give you the Gordon Ramsay handshake on that because I think that is, for what it is, like Jay and I will describe that wedding film as like your stereotypical country club wedding. I think it's perfect. I think that's a perfect wedding film for a country club wedding. I think he's touched all the points. I think he, that wedding film felt like I knew that couple like so well. I think you made them shine. But then also made a film that they're going to absolutely love. I don't think there was many technical things that I would have changed. I love your themes. I love that you're not cutting over wedding B-roll over this stuff. You're creating this world of found footage and, old photos while they're describing their love for each other. It's just so well thought out. constructed and executed on. And I see that in the comments, you're like, oh, I didn't record part of his. Like, I would never have known that based on watching this film. I think you freaking crushed it.
Yeah, I was gonna kind of say, like, seeing this is like the film for you. I mean, maybe there's other ones, but if this helps, if you're wondering if you can, your work justifies a raise in price, or any of the things you do, you can sell this to anyone, and because you can make this, if you can make this film every weekend, or at least anytime someone gives you an interview, you're doing something special that's going to stand out in your market. And honestly, from a personality standpoint, I felt like the things that sometimes I critique about films, where I'm like there's a couple little things where I was like, oh, I wish I didn't see those power lines, or little things like that. But in general, I'm like, yeah, this is how you do it. Like, this is how you connect with the couple's authenticity, but also elevate it. And the authenticity with these are sweet people.
Yeah.
Like, and you didn't like go for it with the song, where it's just like this weird song where I'm like, they're just nice people. It was a beautiful song about love, and they love each other. Just do that.
Yeah.
It's not about you.
I put that too. I think the song was just perfect. It was nothing like, it worked within this world so well. Like, and I think a lot of times we try to elevate the film with like picking a song that's so different. I thought this suited the film perfect.
My personal choice is you should pick a song that feels like the couple over a good song.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I feel like that will always be, will connect with everyone. And I felt like it was awesome. You should be really proud of yourself that you were able to make this. So yeah, Bobby.
Yeah, I think it was a super solid film. I echo a lot of what you guys say. I think the two other things I would say, I really, really liked your dance floor footage.
Yeah, really good.
I like the lighting on it, the coloring of it. And then in a general sense, although I will get back to this on the things we could improve or question mark or something like that, I overall really liked the color of this film. But I do have an issue with the color of the film as well, but I will leave it at that.
I will say I like the color world he created. It's like great oranges, great greens.
Yep.
Which makes good skin tones.
Yep.
Anyway, okay, what are some things that he can do to maybe even go higher? I think like this is a great film for him. It's very, I think, important on his portfolio. So how can he improve on it?
I'll let you guys take these because I think it was a perfect film.
I can go first because I'm going to forget what I'm going to say otherwise. Okay, so piggybacking off my color comment, there was some stuff. I know you've got a Canon and a Panasonic, and I think there were shots where you could tell. It wasn't crazy to me or anything like that, but I think a little more careful maybe on matching that footage.
Or maybe just use this newfound
or just use the same
price increase and get a matching camera.
Yeah. And that's the small thing. It wasn't like glaring. But the thing, okay, so I personally I don't mind the use of like the 8mm matte or, whatever, the film matte. I didn't like that matte specifically though. Because it's like the 3-frame matte, but your frame is bleeding across all three. It's not cut and repeated or anything like that. I don't know. It just felt like weird to me. It felt off. And then the biggest thing that I would say, and it actually doesn't even come from the film. It comes from you, your submission, and then your comments in chat and kind of knowing some of the issues that went on with the film is that I think the biggest thing that you can do to improve is it sounds like your communication with your second was a big issue. And I don't know how often you have a second or if this person was new or what the deal was, but like, I know you mentioned somewhere that your second didn't record the Tascam. And like, I think that's not like, I don't know, you guys, maybe Jay and Jared are different and we run different types of businesses but for me, the way I approach it, and I think Benjamin's business is more like mine, is if there is something that I need, like if it is a requirement outside of, I have had situations where I've had to have a second mic somebody because I haven't been on site or something like that. I am not leaving that to chance. That's my responsibility. So I don't know. That's my approach to that.
My big critique with the film is the sound was very uneven throughout the film. There was a lot of parts where I was like there was a part where the groom was talking and I could just hear a bunch of bugs or something, and then it was like overlapping a couple other parts, and I was just thinking like,
I think that might have been added in.
Yeah, did he have to? Oh no,
sound.
definitely not. That was in there.
Oh, different one.
Yeah, that was on camera audio, and I'm like, did it really need that? Like, it was very disruptive. I'm not sure it really needed that. And then there was a part like where he cut to a shot of them kissing with a fountain in the background, and he put a fountain sound effect, and I was like, it definitely does not need that. Like, it doesn't need that. Like, that's not. I think just looking at how you do sound design in general, and how you handle audio just in general as a filmmaker would be the next thing for you to kind of look at, is like, how am I capturing audio? Am I careful with my processes? Like, if it's really important to you to hear this guy reading this letter when he opens the gift, well, you got to get a lav on him or take him somewhere quiet. Like, you can't interview the guy by a fountain with a bunch of bugs going in the middle of the hot sun. Like, I think that was like a little bit of a weak point. And then there's a couple little shots where I see disposable cups, and I have a rule: no disposable cups. Like if you are taking a picture of a beautiful wine glass and they have little plastic cups next to it, don't show the cups. Move the cups, put them on the ground if it's a meaningful thing to them. Just like little touches like that, I think go a long way to really elevating the film. And if you, as a filmmaker, are noticing it on site or in the edit, like, oh, I don't want to show that. I don't want to show those power lines. Like, kind of like being present while you're shooting, that you're not capturing things that you're just going to regret later. Because, and I get it, it happens. There are plenty of times where I'm like shooting and I'm like, dang it, there was like a piece of like a trash bag next to me and I didn't notice it. Like, yeah. But in general, I think that would also level it up. But here's the deal. Like, I hope this film sets you on a path of making more films like this. And I hope your next couples want you to make this.
Yeah.
Because you do a great job.
I think if he continues to make films like this, they're only going to elevate more and more, and you're going to be able to charge more and more money.
You'll have less plastic cups, is what you're saying.
Well, not really. I shoot plenty of high-end weddings we're charging $10,000 for, and there's plenty of plastic water bottles scattered everywhere. So,
yes, but they wouldn't be on the altar with the wine they're going to take their communion.
Oh, yeah, maybe that.
Like, they would have a nice glass, and like that's part of the experience. And like, I think that is the thing. Like, the more high-end your weddings are, the more like it's just easy to shoot elevated stuff. You go to the altar, they have this beautiful thing set up for you.
Yeah.
You don't need to be like, you go to a normal person's wedding, which by the way is normal. I don't begrudge the person. And they're like, we don't need a magical glass to drink out of for our communion. Just whatever.
Yeah.
Like, but at the end of the day, I do think it makes the film feel a little elevated when you kind of remove those elements.
So if I could dive back into something I liked about this film, again, it's a great, just normal person wedding. Like, you're shooting inside of a house that I think a lot of us encounter week in and week out. It's just like a country home. It's, somewhere where the bride probably grew up, right? Or maybe it's their like parents' home. And you just have all the same like bad decorations and like love and hope signs on the wall. And like, you decided to put them in this hallway to have her get ready.
Yeah, I love that.
And it's just like, that's so thoughtful. And I think we can all take away like, where's the best space to shoot these things? Taking control of the situation when like, I don't like to be very involved when I like to do much more documentation. But if I see that someone's getting ready in a terrible room and they have their like, she has her old dolls on her bed, like of where she grew up.
She's like saying something like, I haven't been in this room in 10 years.
And, yeah. You're like, okay, maybe I know it means something emotionally to her, but maybe when she's in her dress, pulling her out and doing some shots in this hallway that just looks so much better. Like doing that kind of stuff, like we can all take away, I think some good tips from that to just elevate the film.
And I was going to say, the dance floor, I meant to say earlier, the dance floor stuff is awesome and really well lit, and really like, even like lighting the cake. I always light a cake because I'm like, I hate cake stuff.
Yeah.
It looks so bad most of the time. If you can just get a light on it, at least I know it's going to look good in my film and it's going to elevate the film and all that stuff. So I think he succeeded in a lot of like okay, weddings are a bunch of stuff that are out of your control. How do you elevate them?
Yep.
And you did a great job. And this is what it looks like to be a professional. Yep. And if you're watching this, and hopefully, not to say this is like, when you look at what Lex was doing, that's like a high concept, like type of thing. This is like, to me, much more like what everyone can be doing if they do it really well. And there are no excuses. Like, you should be making this if you have the skill and the talent and the vision. I think where he stepped above that is the storytelling.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the humanity, and like it's romantic. It's a romantic film. It made me feel emotions. Like, it made me feel like this guy loves her. Oh, what she loves him so much. They love each other. They're like, I understood their journey a little, so I loved it. So great job. Bobby, why don't you take us out?
Well, thank you guys for all tuning in today. We are here every single Thursday at 1 p.m. Eastern. So we will look forward to seeing you back here next week. If you want your film reviewed, you can start submissions now. The link is pinned at the top of the chat, the weddingfilm.school link. Click on live review and submit your film to us. And if you want priority in getting your film reviewed, then consider becoming a member, which also helps this channel out. It helps us promote or push out content like this, our weekly live stream. But we also have more. We have our standard tutorials, gear reviews, things like that.
We even have like random affiliate stuff, which I know everyone has affiliate, but I always try to tell people like, hey, if you're going to get Music Bed anyway, we can get you a free month, and it helps our channel a lot, you know? Mediazilla.
So if you guys don't know, whenever we get approached, which is seemingly on the daily, for a variety of, affiliate stuff, we're always pushing for a benefit for you guys too. So, we always want there to be a discount for your end that we can offer for you. So we have some of that stuff. We have behind the scenes videos, and then on our sister channel we have our podcast, the Wedding Film School Show.
We're working on season 3 right now, by the way.
Yeah,
we have like 9 episodes
it was
recorded.
A very good chat.
It was a good one.
And lots of guests and things like that. And that's on our sister channel, the Wedding Film School Show on YouTube, and also available on all of our standard audio podcast platforms. And on your way out, if you could help us out by hitting that like button, we would appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming. We will see you next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
All right, that was good.